was a city in Soviet Ukraine that didn't exist, at least not to the outside world. A city of over 1 million people, home to one of the USSR's largest factory complexes. It fed a nuclear program, it powered a space program, it lived under constant secret police surveillance. And yet, to outsiders, the city was off limits, and it helped shape history. Welcome to the Red Archives, stories of freedom and empires, told from Ukraine. October 1962, a U-2 spy plane spots something on the coast of Cuba. Rows of launchers pointed at the United States. While the world stared at grainy photographs, few asked a simpler question. Where did those warheads come from? Answer: a place that drowned in secrecy. Not a remote Siberian bunker, but one of the largest cities in Soviet Ukraine, Dnipro. By the 1970s, already a million-plus metropolis, with vast neighborhoods, trolleybus lines, research institutes, sports stadiums, all ringed by fences, checkpoints, and a culture of silence. A closed city restricted to foreigners. The mail was censored, phone calls were monitored, photos and journalists prohibited. Entry required special clearance. Even citizens from elsewhere in Ukraine needed permits. Daily life was bent around secrecy. Here's one tiny example. The local football club Dnipro was sometimes listed or described as a football club from Kryvyi Rih, a neighboring city. And of course, the staff lived under constant KGB attention with routine checks and background files. So this was the atmosphere. Ordinary on the surface, classified underneath. A city built for secrecy. Why so much secrecy? Because Dnipropetrovsk housed Yuzhmash, a behemoth factory of metal, fuel and meth. And Yuzhny Design Bureau was its brain, and at their peak tens of thousands worked there. The complex sprawled across hundreds of hectares, and inside they weren't building tractors, they were building the R-12 and R-14 medium-range nuclear missiles. The same missiles deployed to Cuba that triggered the most dangerous confrontation of the Cold War. Later came giants like the R-36 Saturn class. It was among the most powerful ever fielded by the USSR. These rockets, warheads, launch platforms, all wrapped in a deliberate fog. Maps hid what satellites hinted at. Western analysts knew something big was happening in central Ukraine. They marked test burns and silos across the region. But the true scale? That stayed behind the fence. And then there was the man they didn't talk about. Mikhail Yangel, the man they never talked about. Mikhail Yangel was a chief designer at Yuzhny, the father of R-66M Saturn nuclear bomb. A man of immense talent, and unlike the USSR's public trophy scientists, Yangel remained a shadow, not because he was unimportant, but because he was essential. He held under his supervision the totality of Soviet nuclear power, so the state protected him by surveilling him. He traveled with escorts, his office was watched, his calls were tapped, letters were opened and screened, colleagues were quietly told to keep an eye on him. Not for disloyalty, but because a single man carried too many secrets. There was also a private matter. In 1960, a catastrophic pad accident happened in Baikonur, the Netherlands disaster. It killed scores of engineers and officers during testings of R-16 nuclear missiles. Yangel narrowly survived. He stepped away from a safe zone moments before the blast. The guilt never left him. It shaped the rest of his career, and it allowed the Soviet state to manipulate him and give him no choice but to stay an obedient cog in the Soviet machine. How Dnipropetrovsk was declassified. Mikhail Yangel died in 1971. No grand farewell, no televised tribute, just another name filed in a system he served. But the machines he shepherded didn't die with him. For 2 more decades his design stood on alert, aimed across oceans. The city kept grinding, kept hiding. Then came 1987. Gorbachev, perestroika, a draft of fresh air, and with it, a slow unsealing. Dnipropetrovsk was declassified. Fences didn't vanish overnight, but they began to rust. Maps were redrawn, black squares turned into streets, foreigners could enter, journalists could ask questions, and the invisible city became visible to the world and to itself. It didn't turn into a postcard. The factory still stood, the metro still ran, and the old silence lingered in the corners. Fast forward past 2016, when the city officially took back its shorter name, Dnipro. Today, as war presses from the east, the past feels close enough to touch. A city once hidden to protect the world now helps defend it. This time in full view. If this history spoke to you, tap like, hit subscribe, and join me next time when we pull another story out of the shadows of empire.